This morning. My name is Brent Smith. I have Craig, aka the Batman, on camera, and a happy Easter to all. And a happy April Fool's Day as well. Now, in my experience in the safari industry, April Fool's is generally quite an elaborate, well thought out hoax that is played on each other during game drive. I think Taylor McCurdy missed the boat this morning because she put salt in the sugar jar, and I was very unimpressed with my tea this morning when I had to pour the whole thing out. Now see, Taylor, we're wasting milk, we're wasting water. So I'd say some of the best April Fool's jokes I have seen have been played out in the safari industry, and one of them was particularly funny. It was when we were still living on Pinda, and I will tell you in a second, but first I just spotted something on the bonnet. Okay, can you get him? You got him? Very, very cool little bladder hopper. He must have just jumped out of nowhere onto the vehicle. Now remember, this is 100% live, and if you have any questions for us, hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or on whatever feed you're watching on. We're going to be looking for Hukamuri. I'm going to see if I can... Well, that was a big jump for a little hopper. We're going to see if we can find Hukamuri, who gave us a hard time yesterday. He was found after safari ended just around Rebecca's Road, still on the move. We heard him calling about an hour ago somewhere in this area, so we're just going to go have a wander through. I think Taylor's going to look for the lions, and I'm not sure what Tristan's up to on foot. But so far, no tracks, so he might have headed up towards there, but we're going to find out what and where's going on. We do have our roofs on in case the light drizzle becomes a bit harder as the morning progresses. But who knows what wonders await this Easter. Oh, lots of hyena tracks so far. Okay, so I'm going to keep searching for Hukamuri. Someone little yesterday said Hukamuri is an Easter leopard because he's only going to come out today. Well, hopefully you are right. In the meantime, let's see what Tristan's plans are while he tromps around on Shank's pony.
Well, good morning and welcome to a much cooler, a little bit more dreary start to our day than we've been having over the past few days. It feels a lot better than that searing heat. And as Brent mentioned, my name is Tristan, and on camera we have Sebastian, and hopefully Brent will have a Easter leopard in the form of Hukamuri. That's the idea anyway. We're going to try and see if we can find him. We might give him a little hand. We're going to walk sort of the western side of Djuma this morning. We'll just see what's about. After a bit of rain, we had a slight little bit of rain this morning. You never know, maybe there's some interesting things that come out from all of this. We also have a situation where we probably might be lucky with the wild dogs as well, because remember, there were dogs all around us yesterday morning. So there were 3 different packs that were seen yesterday on our eastern, northern and western side, and so this kind of weather is perfect wild dog weather. They love the overcast conditions, and so we'll have a look out for them, as well as, like I say, any sign of Hukamuri himself. So that's the kind of plan for the morning. So we're going to try and head and try and see if we can find any of those things. It should be a good morning to walk, though. It's nice and cool at least. And so Brent is wanting to know if there's any comments about whether or not his prank was good. Brenty, the aim of April Fool's is to trick somebody into doing something that they don't know that they're doing until such time as they've done it. And so therefore, I would imagine that April Fool's was a massive success, unfortunately for you, and I think you were caught out by Taylor Mack and her ability to kind of get you. And so there are April Fool's jokes that are different and Brent, you got April Fool's, I'm afraid, by Taylor. So, Brent doesn't want to admit it, but he was caught out a little bit. And the funniest part about it is because not one other person in camp has sugar in their tea or coffee, except for Nikki. And today Nikki decided she was going to have honey instead. So it's only actually just caught Brent, which is pretty funny in my mind. Anyway, we're going to carry on. We're going to see what we can find while we do that. Let's send you to the mastermind of the April Fool's jokes.
Good morning, everybody. Happy April Fools. My name is Taylor McCurdy, Taylor McPrankster, and on camera with me today is David. And it's David's last drive before he goes on holiday. How excited are you, David? Very excited to go on holiday, but you're going to miss us all lots. Now, I'm trying to find out where these leons have gone. I've got their tracks on the road. There's also hyena tracks. I just want to check quickly up here. I'll be 2 seconds. Don't mind me. Let me just quadruple check here. There's a roof coming out, Darby. Oh, a little bit. Oopsie. Okay, they're still here. There's hyena and lots of lion tracks this morning. So, hang on. Are these nice ones? Okay, we still got the lion tracks. What were they doing? What was going on here? It looks like they were running. Or digging. That's a hyena digging, though. The light's not very nice. I apologize, I'm not looking at you. I'm just trying to work out what happened here. Because it's a bit strange. The hyenas were having a big party here. Perhaps they're also trying to prank Brent this morning. That was really, really funny, by the way. Even though Brent says it's the worst prank ever, the rest of the camp disagrees, and we found it hilarious. We all got we got the reaction we wanted. We really did. We wanted him to be miffed out. Miffed is another great South African word. Miffed like is not impressed. Is a great one. Hey! Now I'm so confused because I had all the lion tracks. See, like that's a lion track. There's another lion track. Okay, we'll just keep going down the road a little bit further. The combination of lots of lion tracks and lots of hyena tracks. Okay. No, they're still going down the road. Okay, let's go. I was just confused for a second. I thought maybe someone was playing tricks on me. So we're just going to carry on going down Fullerman's cut line. This always makes me nervous when the lions have started walking this way. Because we're not very far from the boundary. And we know that they move fairly quickly through here. So I just want to keep making sure that they haven't cut off the road. Those are all hyena. Okay, well, I'm going to try and concentrate very quickly. I think I'm going to race towards Gowrie Main to see if they haven't crossed out. And, well, while we do that, Brent is on a mission to find Hukumuri today.
I'm also sort of wondering here whether if we don't look for Hukumuri, we'll find Hukumuri. And I'm just trying to wait for everyone to get going to see if I can get an update on the wild dogs from yesterday that were in the west. And maybe just do a quick check down Triple M, see if the dogs came in or see if Shadulu's come in for Easter. And then, because there's another vehicle checking parallel to me, so if they find any tracks towards the Buffelshoek cut line, they'll let us know. So far, just hyena tracks. Now, looking for tracks in this light can be quite difficult. That's why I've got my torch with me. And if I see something I want to double check, I use the torch to just illuminate a little bit to throw a bit of shadow so we can see. So there you can see there's some tracks on that side of the road, but they are hyena. And even just from here with the little torch, I can immediately make out the shape of the track. So that's one of the reasons on a lot of the safari vehicles, the tracker's seat is right up front there, so when you put your lights on, they're in a very good spot to see any shadows or illuminations, or the shadows that the lights catch. Still hyena. There was a little bit of drizzle last night, so the fresh tracks are going to have very dark edges, so it should be easier to spot. But of course, when you start tracking an animal like Hukumuri, you need to start at the beginning. So I'm going to finish the story I started telling Monty about the one of the more impressive April Fool's jokes. So in the early days of Pinda, we didn't see leopard very, very often. Now, there was a pan called Vulture Pan that was visible from the big deck at Mountain Lodge, and there was a guy who still actually works in the area. He now runs a couple of the reserves in that area. He was a ranger, and he called in on the radio. We have 2 lions with a leopard up a tree at Vulture Pan, and there was only one guy still out on drive who had some interesting German guests, and the rest of the staff and everyone were piled up onto the deck with binoculars, and you could see, I'm not going to mention any names in this, but you could see this cloud of dust coming from the north down one of the main access roads through Pinda, and you can almost hear that V8 Land Rover roar, and he got there. There were 2 lion lagers, beers, up the tree with a wooden leopard from the lodge curio shop that was up in the tree, and and the ranger drove back to camp, and his tracker was just walking around going, "My God, bloody fool! Ah, bloody fool!" He just kept calling his guide a bloody fool. He was very upset, old Jerry. But yeah, that was a very, very funny one. I've been caught at Singita Lubombo. We saw wild dogs very infrequently there because of the high density of lions, and I was up in the north actually tracking the Mountain Pride, and I got a call that there were 6 wild dogs on my 4 Pounds road, and 2 of us immediately said we're on our way. And Lubombo is big, just over 15,000 hectares. So if you're far up in the north, it's a long way to get to certain places. And I got my tracker off the tracker seat, got him to sit inside. I told my guest, hold on, it'll be worth it. And I put the hammer down. And so did the head ranger at the time. And as we started getting close to the area, we're like, okay, where? And the person, I actually saw him while I was on leave, the guy who did this to me. He's a very, very well-known cameraman now. And we managed to get down there, and by this stage Russell managed to get himself far away from us and into the lodge. And as he got into the lodge, he said, April Fool's, guys. I didn't have a sense of humor that day. So I'd left tracking lions and covered some incredible distance to get there over a long way through the Kruger Park. But anyway, that's what happens. You should be more awake. And there was one that actually happened. Whoopsie, this thing got stuck not so long ago. But I'll save that for a little later. I'm sure Tristan might have some April Fool's stories from the bush as well, so let's see if he's got any.
Well, we do have some April Fool's stories. Well, I've had some April Fool's stories. There's some very funny ones. And what are we doing at the moment, though, before we get into those, is just getting onto a termite mound. It's a good place just sometimes to have a little scan around. So kind of get up high, have a look, see if there's any signs of maybe ellies or buffalo or anything like that. Also just to hear what's going on. It's a very different perspective from up on one of these mounds. I always quite like getting up into these and having a little look. But this time, not very much that's happening up on top. Now, in terms of April Fool's stories, there's some very funny ones, which we'll get into now. And so, probably one of the funniest ones that I've ever heard of was a friend that James and I have that was at Londolozi, and he was fairly new to the guiding industry. He hadn't guided for very long, and he got this very big photographer, and so he's a very famous South African photographer. And basically what happened was he was desperate to find this guy some amazing stuff, and so the guys called on the radio that there was wild dogs on the other side of Londolozi, and they were this particular photographer loves wild dogs, and so he said, no, let's go. So the guy drove, and he was going and going and going and going, and he was racing to try to get to the wild dogs because he was worried they're going to cross the boundary. And so he was driving so fast that he hit this bump in this guy's camera equipment, brand new camera with this big lens that was very expensive, went flying off the seat, dunk, and landed on the floor of the car and made a sickening thud. At which point, this guy now was like, oh no, now this camera's dropped, it's going to be broken. So the photographer was absolutely fine about it. He said, no, it's fine, just keep going to the dogs, let's see what we can get, we'll sort it out when we get there. Anyway, he went and he drove and he drove and he went round this side and around that side, and only after about an hour of him searching did the guys tell him no, it was an April Fool's. And then the trouble rained down. He was in big trouble with that photographer, and it didn't go down well at all. It was funny for everybody else, but not so funny for that particular guy. He was a bit distraught about the whole thing. But anyway, the camera was fine apparently, and all's well that ends well. The guy eventually got the photographs he wanted, and actually, funny enough, the dogs did show up the next day, I think it was. So, pretty funny. And then I've also seen another one where, guys, we used to have a beer in this area called Lion Lager. And the guys, yeah, we do actually, it's come back, hasn't it? And so the guys used to put a 6-pack of Lion Lagers on the road, and then they would call it in. And if you responded, then you would get there and there'd be a note, and it would just say, like, take one and continue the sighting. Oh. And so the guys would just take one and keep going, and it would kind of fool everybody during the course of the drive. But it was fun, it was good, good-natured fun. So those are some of the better ones. So Linda, the mystery male leopard from yesterday sounds like he was going further east towards Chitwa Dam side. Quite skittish, so difficult to say where he went or how far he went, but he seems to have been seen a few times. So it's the same male leopard that was confused as Nkuhuma a few weeks or months ago, and then he's been seen on a kill as well and was confused for Hukumuri. So guys with their IDs at the moment are not ideal, and he doesn't look anything like Hukumuri. He's much closer looking to sort of quarantine side. He's got those bigger kind of ears, quite a long face, much like I say, quarantine and Mvula. So not sure who he is. We don't know really where he comes from. He's quite shy, but yeah, he was just south of Twin Dams, moving in an easterly direction towards Chitwa, which is interesting. So poor Hosana and Tamba and Tingana, they've got a lot of things to deal with at the moment. It's going to be a tough couple months with all these new boys lurking around. Good, we're going to carry on. We're going to keep heading west, see what else we can find. While we do that, let's send you back across to Taylor, who's just bumbling about.
Well, we had the tracks of the lions. I don't have them anymore, so I've asked Taxon very, very kindly if he could please check around at Treehouse Dam. Who's here? I think this was Hyena. Hyenas were busy last night. Very, 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 very busy. Okay, so Taylor, stop looking at the hyena tracks, but I just have to check once more. Just to make sure. No, it's still hyena. What are they doing there? Playing in the quarry. Okay, we're going to go up Weaver's Nest now. And then we're going to take Elephant Carcass all the way towards Treehouse Dam. Because I don't know if they've crossed out. The other thing these lions could have done is they could have changed direction again, which they normally do. And that's where Of course I've got an insect in my eye. How ridiculous of me to think that I could dare do a safari without an insect flying into my eye. The other thing that they could do is they could have cut through the block. I thought their tracks looked like they were going a little bit more south and end up going west. But Brent, if he's trekking, Triple M, he will see those tracks. So he can tell us then. He'll probably just tell me to go there to try and get me back. Now, I know I need to be careful with Brent today, but what he doesn't know is that I've grown up with my dad, well, obviously. And, the things that he used to do to my brothers and my brothers, I've had all sorts of things in my bed. He can't catch me out. He's going to try really, really hard, though. I'll just keep trying to prank him throughout the entire day, but obviously don't tell him this, because it's funny. It's so hilarious when we get Brent and we work him up. because that's obviously the reaction we're going for. I apologize, I was just trying to remove all 30,000 insects in my eyes, from my eyes. Never pleasant. As long as it's not a stink bug, because that'll be a nasty surprise. Okay, hyena still running here. So I still don't think those lions are going to be going towards Twin Dams, well, at least through the carcass itself. They may linger on past it, perhaps the scent of a rotting elephant, you know. Some animals might find it a hard smell to pass on. Oh, let me quickly... Tex is just trying to get hold of me. Just go Tex. Let's see. I heard him trying to call me and then... Tex for Taylor. No, now Tex has gone silent. I don't know where he went so quickly. Okay, so no tracks here. I hope they didn't cross at Twin Dams. Now, Ganjgirl, I don't think the elephant carcass is quite finished just yet. It's still got a little bit left on it. There were still legs and trunk that the animals could feed on. So there'll still be a little bit. I reckon the next couple of days there'll still be hyena activity around there. There'll be animals that'll be curious about the scent that will still go there, even if there's not necessarily any flesh left. There'll be bones and all sorts of wonderful things for them to play around with. I do want to get hold of Taxon for Taylor. Let's see if this time it works. Nope. I'm just not hearing anyone. Okay, no one wants to talk to me. Oh, goodness. Bouncing, a roof is about to fall off. Now, speaking of leopards, which we weren't, but Mina Moo, obviously it's just Mina, but remember we've given you a nickname now. You've asked about Kuchava and her cub. I haven't heard anything. I don't think she has been sighted. I think she's in Torchwood, and unfortunately there's not a lot of people that drive around in Torchwood, so when the leopards often go in there, they're quite happy to stay there for a few days, peace and quiet. Why wouldn't they? So no, I haven't heard any updates. I just don't know why I can't get hold of Taxon again. To me, this is strange. What has he found? And why is he not wanting to talk to me on the radio anymore? Come on, Taxon. Taxon's one of the Djuma guys. Yeah, well, I'm going to keep trying to harass Taxon on the radio, otherwise we'll make our way towards Treehouse Dam. Off you go, back to Brent.
Well, I said we're going to go check for these dogs quickly, so we're on Triple M, just going very slowly, because, as I say, the light is quite bad, but so far, nothing. Now, I'm hoping that we do find tracks of those dogs shortly, but wild dogs on foot, Joe, react quite well, actually. Sometimes if you just sit down or lie down, they become curious and actually come right up to you. I've had one sniff my camera lens so much it misted the lens while I was lying in the road. So they actually react fine with people on foot. They're just generally quite curious. So I've had actually some incredible wild dog encounters on foot all over Africa. So when I was living in Tanzania and in the Southern Selous Game Reserve, we had a lot of wild dogs. It's one of the largest population of wild dogs left in the world. And we used to have incredible sightings of them on foot in the Lukula River. So during the dry season, that river is about this deep. So the dogs would course through the riverine forest on the edges and then chase the animals out into the wet river sand and then grab them out in the middle. So we've even had them fighting with crocodiles and all sorts. But if it was in one of those shallow sections, and it was hot, you could actually just lie in the water 5 meters away from wild dogs feeding on a carcass. It was incredible. So there we mostly did walking safaris. That's why we spent a lot of time on foot with dogs. No, it was very, very, very special being able to do that with wild dogs. Now, a lot of you might remember, I think the only wild dog sighting we've had on foot here was James was lucky enough to be the person on bushwalk that morning, and he had a lovely sighting of the dogs on Vuyatela access. I'm not sure whether Tristan's trying to pull an April Fool's joke on you, because I thought he was looking for cats, not snails.
Well, no, I'm not pulling any April Fool's jokes. We are looking for our spotty cats on foot, but you also have to take in all the smaller things, and weather conditions like this is the perfect conditions for snails. And so you'll find these giant African land snails coming out in their droves when it is a little cooler and a bit more kind of damp, and they come sort of crossing the roads, and you see them all over the place, and you actually have to be very careful that you don't drive over them when you kind of in these conditions, because there's some that are a little smaller than this guy that will unfortunately be kind of on the road, and they camouflage actually far better than you think, particularly when they go up and into the shell. It becomes really difficult to see them, and you end up having to kind of be very careful about how you go about it. But amazing little things, these guys. I shouldn't say little because of how big they are. This particular individual is not the largest we will get out here. It is probably, I would say, I'll put my hand here so you guys can actually see how big it is in relation to my hand or my fingers. It's not the biggest snail I've ever seen. It's a situation where you get bigger ones than this, that's for sure. So most of the time, these guys, or the really big guys, would be able to go from pretty much where my watch is to the tip of my fingers with a massive shell, whereas this one would probably just fit inside of my palm. But you can see they've got this massive kind of foot pad with these little eyes that come out in the front, and that foot pad basically is there for them to move. And how they do it, you can see there's actually not a rippling effect of the muscle. Do you see that? There's no muscles kind of rippling on the edges, so it's not like a snake when it walks kind of using its ribs. These guys secrete a mucus that basically acts like a lubricant between them and the surface of the soil. And so as they're going, that secretion comes out, and then there is muscles within this foot pad that basically just walk it along. But the secretion is what helps them to be able to glide over any little bits of sand or grasses or twigs without too much effort and too much movement of the foot pad itself. So they're basically creating their own ice rink effect, if you would like to kind of call it that. Now, Nikki, you say you can see the eyeball. Isn't that cool? So there's a little eye that's there. It's a very kind of simple eye. It's not in any way as complex as what we see on our heads or in the way that we see. So it's just there to detect movement more than anything else. And so what happens is with these guys, you can see, look, it's now looking at the camera. It's probably seeing itself in the reflection and coming to investigate what's going on. But how cool is that? So you can see it's almost very alien-like. It's kind of got these big eyes, and funny enough, those can all suck in towards the head. So even though they're kind of extended now, they do get pulled in towards the head, and you have a situation where they can kind of then go up into the shell to protect themselves. It's amazing how this body just kind of collapses almost into the shell itself, and it doesn't damage anything when they do that. So very, very cool to see. Not every day you get that close to a snail, and we're able to see the eyeballs as closely as we are. And Seb, you're about to have a snail go up your pants at this stage. So this poor kind of snail is going straight towards the edge of Seb's pants, and he's going, no, don't think you would want one of those up your pants. Now, First Lady, no, they do not shed their shells. Basically what's happening, if you have a look on the shell itself, there's these kind of conical sort of growths that come out. So as they're growing, so an extra little bit is added to it. So all of those little kind of lines that you're seeing are as the shell is growing and getting bigger and bigger with the snail itself. So they don't shed the shell. The shell's always there. They can't afford to shed a shell, because unfortunately if they did, they'd have a situation where they would probably, in all likelihood, be eaten or damaged in some way. Remember that their body is as soft as it gets, and so they need that hard shell to be able to go into, to be able to stay safe. And so that shell grows with them as they go, and just little more and more rings will be added to it as they get bigger, which is very cool. Spara, you say great camera work, clapping hands. Yes, Seb, let's give you a round of applause.
Thank you, Sparrow. Thank you.
There we go. Now, the Impala didn't like me giving a round of applause. It just shouted at me. It gave me a snort to say, what are you doing? It's early in the morning. Why are you waking everybody else up? But anyway, we are going to applaud our camera work from Seb. Well done, Seb. That was very, very, very nice. So awesome to see snails like this. It's a very cool thing to be able to kind of spend time with, and I absolutely love the fact that when it's cool and damp like this, often you get these amazing little insects coming out, and actually this morning will be really good for slugs as well, which I know a lot of people don't like. I'm not a huge fan, but cool to see nonetheless. Anyway, let's carry on. Let's keep moving and seeing what we can find and explore. While we do that, let's send you to Taylor, who I think is still tracking the Nkuhuma Pride.
Yeah. Oh, what's that, David? Did you see what I was looking at? On that there pathway. Oh, it's a hyena. Hang on. I think these lions are here. I don't think they're far. Tax said he saw one lioness track chasing the hyenas around. We think they're in this block between Shibamo and Treehouse Dam. There's no tracks crossing out onto Gari Main that I could see. I didn't check up towards Zoe's Philemon's cut line though. But these hyenas are lingering. And a hyena is a good lingerer too, a lurker. Jerker lurker, as Scott likes to refer to them as. Hi. Oh, goodness, it's all of you. Whole team's here. Huh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hyena. And then there's a couple that are just off of Treehouse Dam too. 7 hyena here, adults, by the looks of it. Very camouflaged though. All relaxed. I'm actually going to sit quietly for like 2 seconds. See if I can hear any crunching or any growling or snarling. No, very quiet. Let me just tell Tex, I don't have the Ngala, but I've got about 7 hyena just off of Shibamo Road. So did you ask what direction they're moving? They're not. They're static. Maybe about 50 meters off the road, just laying on a animal pathway. There we go. Okay, Tex is going to do that for us. Let me just tell him thank you, because he's going to help us out. Okay, copy. Thanks, Tex. I'm just going to spend a little bit of time with these Misi, and then I'll move on and carry on. Okay, cool, everybody. Now I'm going to turn the radio off for a little bit. Tex and I are trying to obviously work together, if you've just jumped on board, to try and find the Nkuhuma Pride lions. They're here somewhere. We can't see that their tracks have crossed off unless they've done a sneaky, which they could they do quite often, and gone west. So, seeing as though we've got the hyena here, Tex is going to go all the way down towards Rebecca's, Zoe's, Philemon's cut line sort of junction, and have a little scratch here and see if they didn't cross out. But these hyenas look very, very sleepy. Now, I know you all love hyenas and you love spending time with them, so have fun trying to identify all of them. I find it particularly difficult, but I also haven't seen these hyenas for such a long time. Now, Brent has been speaking about wild dogs, I think, since he arrived back in South Africa, and how excited he is to see them. Sorry, I was just trying to... Oh, no, that's Orbs now talking. Sorry, I thought it was Tax again. I think Aubrey's looking for something different. So with Brent speaking about the wild dogs, obviously I've been lucky and I've seen them twice since I've been back at work. And Hunter... I don't think wild dogs are as dangerous as a hyena. I mean, you mustn't underestimate them, wild dogs. Again, they're wild animals. Even an impala is dangerous to a human if you get on the wrong side of its horns, or even if it just runs into you at great speed and not necessarily trying to attack you. It's going to knock you straight off of your feet. However, hyenas have got exceptionally powerful jaws and unfortunately do have the reputation of man killer in certain areas. But most of the time when hyenas have attacked humans, it's been the people that have actually been at fault. They've just been careless. And when you are out in the wild, you need to take caution. You need to make sure that you zip your tent up, that you don't leave your door open, you don't fall asleep around the fire, unless you've got somebody sitting up on, that's sort of watching, on guard duty. Otherwise, yes, a hyena is going to take an opportunity and run on in. Remember, we see hyenas picking up hippo bones. I mean, I had that incredible sighting where the Triangle Boys and the Mara killed a hippo, and we think the Marsh Breakaway Pride. And some hyenas went in after the boys moved off, and they were picking up entire femurs and bits attached to it, and running and running and running and running for at least a mile without stopping, and with that bone off of the ground. So to drag a human, I don't think is any problem at all for a hyena, so be careful of them. But they typically will leave us alone. If you're up on your feet, I wouldn't worry too much about a hyena. They don't seem to bother us too much. They're very inquisitive. They're the ones that always come into camp. It's their sort of favorite thing, because they're clever. They're going to rummage through all the refuse. Now, if I were to get out of this car right now and start walking towards the hyenas, I promise you right now, they'd run away from me. They'd get a fright and they'd run for their lives. So, crazy shady. There we go. I'm not particularly scared of a hyena when it's like this, but if I was walking down the road in the Masai Mara in the middle of the night and a clan of 100 hyenas surrounded me, I'd be terrified. Absolutely terrified. Again, the behavior changes slightly at night. Remember, these guys really come alive, and so do the lions and leopards at night time. And again, all predators are opportunistic feeders. They're going to take the opportunity when it's around. And when you're just walking on your own with a big clan like that, I'd imagine that they'd probably harass you a little bit. Maybe even try and take you on. So don't go walking down any dark, dingy roads in the middle of the wilderness. You shouldn't be doing that anyway. Now, Maureen, hyenas are not related to dogs or cats. They're in their own sort of family, the Hyenidae family. And I suppose when you look at their skull, their sort of skull and their teeth look more like cats than anything. So they're probably more closely related to cats, but they're not the same. I mean, hyenas, when they mark territories, they don't necessarily spray their urine up onto trees or mark with urine. They have anal pastings. They've got anal glands which they use, which is they're present, definitely present in dogs, but they don't use them in that way. I just want to make sure that I'm going to actually keep my game drive radio on in case Taxon calls me. Maybe he's found something. So they're in between the cat and the dog. A cat dog. Who remembers that cartoon? Do you remember that cartoon? Not quite the same though. But actually, when I do look at hyenas, I do for some reason think of that show. But beautiful creatures, they really are, and they look fairly clean. I wonder if they haven't been rummaging around in the elephant carcass last night. Right, I'll tell you a couple more stories about the hyenas in a little bit, but off we go across to Brent. I'm going to try and get hold of Taxon again.
Okay, so we have done the whole of the western boundary. Ooh, nice big kudu bull. Don't hide. Don't hide. Nice big kudu bull. And just got an update on the wild dogs. Unfortunately, they've changed direction again, and they've headed back towards the west. So they were heading our direction, now they've turned around. They might turn around again. You never know. Now, I'll tell you a really funny story. What is on his horn? I think he's been rubbing against Peltiforum. Kudu often do that. They'll rub their horns against bushes and trees. Now, I'll tell you an incredible story about a big kudu bull like that and some wild dogs. So, in Botswana, at a camp called Kwara that we used to run, and what happened is that we used to have a lot of wild dogs up there as well. So my affinity for wild dogs was nurtured, was in northern Botswana. And what happened is, after drive, during breakfast, has someone driven here already this morning? I just want to make sure no one's driven here. Someone has driven here. Have they? No, someone's driven here. I'm going to go around to the other road. So what happened was that the ladies, the chef and the scullery ladies were in the kitchen getting breakfast ready for the guests, and the wild dogs actually chased a massive kudu bull into a small kitchen. Now, these kitchens in Botswana, in the early days, a lot of those camps were previously hunting camps, so they were very basic kitchens, and they were quite small, and generally made out of something called letaka. Now, what letaka is reeds. So they were made out of Phragmites reeds, and the kudu, however, ran through the door and ended up in the scullery section where all the pots, all the plates and glasses and everything were stored, and he just stopped and didn't move. I was at school, unfortunately. I wish I'd been there, but my dad was there, and the kitchen ladies came flying out of the kitchen, screaming down towards the main area, and my dad and I think it was Mark Tennant, can't remember, were in camp, and they went there, and there was a pack of 14 wild dogs sitting at the kitchen door waiting for this kudu to come out. The dogs eventually moved off, and now in a very tight space, a kudu bull is a massive animal. Now, I've done quite a bit of game capture, and a friend of mine and myself were catching kudu just outside, just to the north of Hoedspruit, and one of the darts didn't go in properly, and we had managed to catch it, but there were two of us holding the horns, and both of us are big guys, like both weigh over 200 pounds, or around 200 pounds. Also, I can't remember the conversion, but somewhere just over 200 pounds, 210, 220 pounds, and that kudu bull, even half sedated, lifted both of us off the ground while we were holding his horns, while we were waiting for the vet to come give him another top up of drugs. So this kudu, however, there was no option of calling a vet. Miles away in the bush, closest vet will take a day to get to you. And so basically my dad and someone else grabbed this kudu by its horns and pushed it out of the kitchen, and he didn't even fight, he didn't do anything, and he got out of the kitchen and they let him go and he walked off. Just like that. Very, very strange. Now, often elephant tracks, strange things like that happen when you spend a lot of time in the bush. We've had a pangolin at 1 o'clock in the afternoon walk into camp, just waltz into the middle of camp, right towards the bar. So, very, very, very strange things can happen. Now, again, I wonder what type of reptile Tristan's got. I thought he was looking for cats.
Well, we have got one of my favorite types of reptiles that we get out here. We have got a tortoise. Now, there's two different species of tortoise. We're going in reverse. What's going on? Hello. Did you not see me here? So our little tortoise obviously got a bit of a fright because I didn't think it realized that I was behind it. But this is a Speaks Hingeback tortoise who was having a little feed on the road. Hello. Are you just a backwards tortoise? You can see we go engage reverse, and then off we go up the road. So it is. We know it's a Speaks Hingeback tortoise because if you look at this sort of shell, it's got this very flattened, very kind of sort of dull shell in comparison to the leopard tortoise, which has a very rounded, very colourful shell. These guys are much more flattened and much smaller as well than the leopard tortoise. But you can see also that they can move pretty quickly. Everyone always says tortoises are slow movers, but this little fella is moving at a rate of knots at the moment, and I don't know if it's a boy or a girl. Difficult to say because of the fact that it's not upside down. If it's upside down, then you can typically see. But well, he's just left us lying on the ground here with nothing, so I suppose I should get up at some point and decide to carry on walking. So I'm going to be absolutely covered in sand, and so let's get all of that off. And there we go. Christina, can we track and find the Easter Bunny today? Ooh, maybe. But the Easter Bunny's got secret tunnels that it goes down, so you've got to be careful, because sometimes you'll just track it to a tunnel and then it disappears. But we'll try our very, very best to try and find an Easter Bunny for you this morning. I'm sure there's going to be many a kid trying to track the Easter Bunny all over the world as the day progresses, and hopefully many of them will find at least what's left behind by the Easter Bunny. So, Kristen, we can check for foam nest tadpoles and check around for them. Not too many foam nests that are still active, and those that were active, in all likelihood, the tadpoles have already developed into adult frogs. So, it'll be a bit tough. Maybe with this rain, though, we might find some of them starting to build their nests. So we'll have a little look around and see what we can find. You never know. Maybe we'll get lucky and there will be a foam nest somewhere along the lines, and we'll find some tadpoles for them, or at least some signs of the tadpoles being around. So we'll just have to have a little look around. Danielle, that tortoise's bite is stronger than you think. I mean, it's not hyena strong or crocodile strong, but it's still got a nasty little nip to it and can draw blood if it gets hold of you in the right way. They've obviously got a very sort of hardened edge, much like a beak of a bird, and that helps them to snip bits of grass. And that particular tortoise, the species hingeback tortoise, is actually carnivorous. It can eat insects, and we've seen it eating land snails, millipedes, so they can be a bit of a danger. So they definitely can cause a bit of damage if they get hold of your limbs in any way. Sorry, I just thought no, it's just a smudge on the ground. I was just checking just to make sure that our lions didn't maybe walk this way. I know Taylor's busy trying to track them, so it's important that we just double check and see what is moving around. We might just head into that area and try and sort of help her and see if we can maybe get those tracks as well and give her a hand. Good. Now, while we head in that direction, let's send you back across to Taylor, who I believe is doing some tracking of her own.
Well, we did. We hopped off the car very quickly just to have a look at a male lion's track. He goes down on Shibama Road, he goes off to the west, he drinks at a pan, and then comes back onto the road and goes back east, sort of to where we are now. Now I can't see any tracks crossing Savage's tracks, so we're slowly narrowing down the area that the lions could be in, and I'm going to take a drive through the block. Brent and Rexon are on their way now. I think they're in here somewhere. They must be, because there's no tracks of them crossing out. So all 11 lions couldn't have leapt over the road unless they were having a bit of a bath. Maybe they wiped their feet afterwards, took a branch, scraped the road. So hopefully we're going to get them. Otherwise, they could have also cut through here and gone back towards Weaver's Nest. So we will have a proper look around. And now speaking of tortoises and their bite force, Gregory did bite me yesterday. It's not sore. I thought it was going to be a lot more painful. It just felt like pressure. Like if you press your nail down really hard, that's all it felt like. They've also almost got like that little beak on the edge of their faces, and they can use that to crush down on millipede shells. But don't think it's going to do much to us. They're quite small, so not drawing any blood at all. So, yeah, I don't know what their bite force would be, but it's not very much. Is very good. She's good at eating grapes. Hang on, let me quickly check this with Taxon. Sorry, Tax, go again, confirm they crossed south. Okay, copy, thanks. Did you get my update about that Madonna and Gala and Konzo that comes back east off Savage's track? I'm just trying to work this out. Okay, we are going to go this way. Copy, you'll see the Nkonzo there. Okay, then I'm just going to check a little bit further east, just in case. I'm just on that Northern Road. Is it Elephant Carcass? Yeah, Elephant Carcass going back towards Twin Dams. No, not Twin Dams, towards Beaver's Nest. Oh. Okay. Okay. Sneezes out of the way. Radio communication out of the way. Let's talk business. Thank you. Woo. Right, getting it all done today. Now, we will get back to Treehouse Dam at some point because I think we'll be coming back there. I just want to check here. No one has driven this road yet. So, Hunter, the reason why Treehouse Dam is called Treehouse Dam is because, believe it or not, there used to be a tree house. It is dilapidated now and there are only a few remaining planks. Would imagine it was like a little viewing platform, which would be quite cool. I love trees. Ever had a tree house before? I probably won't build it, but I will ask somebody to help me build it, because I think tree houses are so cool and overrated. I don't think that you can be too old and have a tree house. What's going on here? Oh no, the Easter gremlins are trying to get me here, so while I try and escape them, let's go back to Brain to see, well, where he is.
So we've left the western sections, and I'm staying away from the area where Taylor, Taxon, and Aubrey, and our Tristan and Rex are coming into to help track the lions. I think we're going to head north and east, and maybe go have a look on Chitwa, maybe. I haven't been there for a while. So I'm just trying to avoid the area so I don't interfere with their tracking. Ex-Ranger, shh. The day is not over yet. Yes, I have used Howard. Not only, see, I feel the need. There's no need to only prank on April Fools. It's far more fun to do it whenever. Now, Nicola, who is directing, I've caught with Howard. Scott has been caught by Howard. Scott, I still think, was the funniest. Hey, come on, hey! He's trying to chase it away outside his room. Hey, come on! For those of you who don't know who Howard is a life-size masonite printed hyena that we used on a shoot that I did a couple of years ago for Animal Planet a long time ago, when I was just a wee cameraman. Mickey says it's so realistic. I hate it. Howard is actually a photograph of mine from the Sabi Sands, but from the southern Sabi Sands. But Howard has caught many people, and we've got a new staff member arriving today. So I think we're keeping Howard in store for the new staff member. So I think everyone else has been around too long. Although at 5 o'clock in the morning, in sort of half light, Howard catches the best of us. We have a couple of new staff members since I last brought out Howard. I think Howard might have to make an appearance this week. But I'm going to wait. I think I'll wait till the camera, the carcass is finished, because I've got a camera trap up there. And then wherever we place Howard, we can place a camera trap so we can record the wonderfulness that Howard creates. That'll be hilarious. Oh, we're definitely going to have fun with the new person. New people, always funny, and especially if they're in the production side, because they are not as bush savvy as the presenter team. So the presenting team, to catch with bush stuff it can be quite difficult, but the production team is a piece of cake. I think we're going to have to plot heavily over this drive. Okay, let's go see if Tristan's made his way into the area of those lion tracks to give Taylor and Tax and Aubrey a hand.
Well, no, we've gotten sidetracked, as you can see. This is a spotted cat and not a tawny one that we are looking at. So a lot of you maybe have been asking what this new leopard looks like. So this is a photo that I was sent last night. It gives you an idea of exactly what he looks like. He's got a very like I say, it looks a bit like quarantine, doesn't he, in some respects. But it's not Nkuhuma, it's not quarantine, it's not Mishu, it's not Nduna, it's not Chivambalano. So it's another of Karula's boys. But maybe in some way Mvula had something to do with this fella. But isn't he he's a good-looking boy and rather a large one. I'll just tap on it so it goes back so that you can see just how big he is. He's got a little bit of size to him, and so it's going to be an interesting kind of few months. But he's apparently quite shy and doesn't really like the vehicles too much, and is in a situation where he kind of likes to sort of weave and move, and much like Hukumuri was when he first arrived, Tingana, Anderson, they're all the same when it comes to this, the boys. And then after a while, once they settle in an area, then they become a situation where they will kind of start to settle down, and especially if they start mating, then I find that the boys start to relax quite quickly after that. But he is a beautiful boy. I believe a lot of you are saying that he's a good-looking fella and a good-looking cat. He is. I think he's going to be an interesting one. I'm not quite sure what to make of him just yet and what we're going to kind of experience from him. It also raises many questions as is to who exactly the cubs of Sibui belong to, because if this boy has been around, is it possible that he's mated with her? Also, there's, Kuchava's cubs. It's always interesting kind of when there's some random leopards around, because you just don't know whether or not there was some sort of mating that took place amongst them. Anyway, we're going to keep walking. We're going to keep trying to get down to where Taylor is tracking those lions. Exciting that there's a male lion track as well. I know the two Birmingham boys were seen not yesterday, the day before on Hofmans, which is good news. So they were back in the area and they were with the Styx Pride. So maybe they've come to check in on the Nkuhuma Pride just to make sure that they're all right. So we're heading in that way as fast as we can. We're trying to kind of move quickly to get into that section. It's a long way from where we are, and so we're doing fast walk. It's brisk walk this morning to try and get ourselves down to that area. So we've got to get the old arms moving and get as quickly down to that section as possible to get onto the tracks to try and give Taylor and Taxon a hand. I'm sure they're just probably lying somewhere in the long grass. It's difficult to spot them when they are, so we're going to have a little look and see what we can find. And talking about Taylor, let's send you across to her and see if she's got any further updates regarding these tracks.
Just about to sneeze though. Let me see. We're going to go away. And now I'm going to start talking and then I think I'm safe. Isn't that the worst feeling ever where you want to sneeze and it's just sort of lingering? Yes, Tristan, I'm looking forward to moving to the area. I keep forgetting that you're on bushwalk today and I keep thinking that it's Brent. Anyway, we just saw Brent. He said he's going to head towards Chitwa. Now, we have the whole Pride's track. I wonder... Darby, shall we risk it here? I wonder if we shouldn't just quickly check Ingwe Alley. I don't know why. Let's just quickly have a look, because there's already Aubrey. Aubrey's also come into the area now, which is great. He's another guide from Djuma to give us a hand. So let's just see, because the tracks sort of break off, and then there's one track here and one track there. I can't see where the entire Pride went off. Maybe they did a sneaky and some went up this way, went a little bit north. We might as well have a go and just have a little look around. There's definitely no tracks here at Philemon's Dip, that's for sure. We've worked that out. Squirrels are shouting. I don't trust a squirrel though. Gossip queens of the bush. They're a nightmare out here. So we'll just quickly have a look here. I'm trying to think. I haven't seen any buffalo. The buffalo moved off of the property. And it's not like we've actually been seeing much life in terms of animals today, other than those hyena that were lingering about. Hoi! Goodness, the elephants do a good job at digging around here. So we'll just keep checking. Now, I have to admit to this, Reba. Yes, I do go back and watch the shows on YouTube. I do it, though, to see how I can improve. And then I also go back to sometimes see how ridiculous I am and then go tell you should probably never ever do that ever again in your entire life. Or Sometimes I'll put the show on if I'm sort of doing a bit of research and work, because it's nice to hear what Tristan and Brent and Jamie and Scott and Steve and James and Rolf and everybody's saying, because we've all got different stories, we've all seen animals doing different things, so you can learn from one another. Now, sadly, we don't always get to hop on the back of one of the other presenters, cars and go out with them, which is very important knowledge sharing, especially, or even, it doesn't matter how many years you've been in the bush, I promise you right now, you'll pick up a story from someone. So we used to do that a lot as young guys, go out with all the team and everybody would say one thing about a silver cluster leaf, and you'll find that you'll go, I didn't know that story, and then you take it for your own. And so yes, I do it in that for those examples, especially if there's any interesting sightings, any interesting behaviors. It's nice just to hear the sort of thought process. David, please tell me that I need to actually finish my words. I can't just be shortening them. Hey, thought process. My goodness. And they're thinking behind what's actually going on at the time, and you can go back and then you can sort of go, hang on, you maybe didn't see that do this or whatever. I do it often. You know who catches me the most is probably Rebecca. She comes into my room and she's like, are you watching the show? And I'm like, yep. Busted. Yeah, so I'm a bit of a nerd like that. I make lots of notes and I go back and watch often. Yesterday I went to go watch when I was squirting Tristan. Oh, ground scraper thrush, don't fly away. Of course you're going to fly away. Oh, there's two. There's one on that little branch. On that branch that goes down like this on this little tree. There we go. There was a pair of them. Beautiful birds, ground scraper thrush. And so close as well. Oh, that is lovely. Hello, beautiful. Doing a little wing flap. Very easy to identify. Very mottled colours. I'm going to show you a picture now. There's kind of only one bird, in my opinion, that you can get them confused with, and that's the dusky lark. So let's open the good old bird app, and I will get to the dusky lark out, seeing as though we've just had a look at the ground scraper thrush. You normally see those the larks in the airstrip. We used to see them a lot at Cheetah Plains. Dusky lark, here we go. Let's get a real photo. See there. Similar with the facial sort of markings. And you see that. You'll see now. Dark eyes. Okay, and then let's go to ground scraper. Oh no, we're going to go to T then, hey. Hoi. Thrush. There you go. See that? Very sort of white with distinctive mottling on the breast, and also those markings around the face. We'll see if we can get another one. Very obvious. Yellow legs. Whereas that dusky lark seems to have sort of more greyish kind of legs, and not such a mottled back either. Not a lot of stripes and bars. So there we go. Nice birds to see for those of you that haven't started your bird list. A good one to add on. So now we obviously watch a lot of videos in camp, as you can imagine. I think everybody in the world just does that. We get stuck into the black hole of YouTube, and anyways, we watched a very funny video this morning that I've never seen before. I nearly died. I almost couldn't do the show this morning because I was laughing so hard, and Nikki showed it to me. It's a video of Fenton, the dog, who decides he's going to go chasing all the reindeer or whatever it was out in the open. There's this guy just enjoying himself, just sort of videoing the deer like, oh, what a beautiful morning. And then all you hear is, Fenton! Fenton! And all that reminded me of, you have to actually go and watch the video to understand, is my mother running down the road at 2 o'clock in the morning in her dressing gown and her slippers, chasing after the Anatolian shepherds, because someone would have come home late and left the gate open, and they would just make a run for it. They were a nightmare. Those two, Mac and Mia, and we'd have to then go chasing after them, and they would not listen. They would just run for their absolute lives, and then they'd get too far down the street, because we lived in like sort of farming areas. There's no street lights, pitch black, and and then you'd see them, they'd turn back and they'd be running on the other side of the road, like cowering, like, oh no, what did we just do? No April Fool's prank there, I'm afraid. So apologies for that, but we're back now. We're back up and running. I'm still doing circles and loops and laps. Nothing at Chele Pan. The lions have definitely moved out of there. They're here. We just need. I think the bushwalk team is going to be the greatest thing, and help us out quite a bit today with trying to find these lions. I think they're on their way this side. So there we go. The Fenton video. You can watch it, and like I said, just replace Fenton's owner with my mother, blonde, petite, blue fluffy slippers, blue fluffy dressing gown, shouting Mac and Mia with an Australian accent, and it's literally spot on. So there we go. I'm wondering what we're going to do in the meantime while bushwalk gets here. Okay, I think that Brent is actually going towards the elephant carcass now, if I'm not mistaken. OTC, you said you thought that you saw a leopard run on the carcass cam. What's going on with my necklace? Sorry, I was choking myself for a second. I did hear Brent chatting, and I heard yours, who's one of the landowners in Buffelshoek, also talking about something. What's this Impala looking at? So maybe it's that, and I did hear Brent responding to it, so I think he's on it. We're going to stay up this way and try find these lions. That's what we're going to do. Yeah, I can hear them talking now to Brent. Yeah, I think Brent's going to have a surprise for you in a little minute. So he'll be Ferrari safaring. Right, while we keep doing loops and laps to try and find these kitty cats, off we go to Tristan to see if he's, any closer to this area.
We are indeed, Taylor. We are pretty much where you had your last tracks. We just haven't quite gotten onto the tracks just yet, but we are in the area. But I think maybe Tax is trying to get hold of Taylor. So it's possible that there's a situation where Tax has maybe already found these lions up ahead of us, because I can actually hear a vehicle very close to me that's busy kind of calling and driving around and has gone off road a little bit. So maybe we just missed where the track, maybe just missed finding them, and Tex has already found them. In that case, we'll just kind of carry on past the area, but it's somewhere in this general vicinity is where these lions should be. So we try to get you as fast as possible, but we had a situation where we got a little bit kind of waylaid. But we're going to send you off to Brent, who I believe is on the prowl for something very special, and I believe his signal's not great, but let's try anyway.
Okay, so we've just found a leopard. I'm not sure whether it's the new leopard or whether it's Hosana, but from the behavior, I think it's the new leopard. He's just behind the bush. We don't want to move too much to disturb him. So he's right here behind this bush. He's the one that you would have seen on the carcass camera. So he's just behind this bush, but he's crawling around a bit, not acting like Hosana. So I think it could be the new one that was seen just to the south yesterday. I think he's probably just stopped and hidden now. He's okay. As I say, from the pictures we saw from the other guides, he looked okay at night. I'm just going to try roll forward and not... Okay, yours can see him now. I'm just going to go forward a little bit. You can just see him sneaking off. You got him, Craig? Okay, let's just... I had one good clear view of him. I said we're just going to try to keep our distance a little bit. Craig, can you see him? You're a bit higher than me. Do you want me to tell me when to stop? Have you got a view? Oh, there he is. Okay, let's just go forward a bit. He could be stalking the Impala. There's a whole big herd of Impala here on the other side of the pan. He's stalking the Impala. Is that Husana? I'm not sure if it's a skittish leopard or if it's Husana just being silly. No, It did look a little bit like Hosana to me, stalking Impala. So we're going to get a gap shortly. Let's have a look. Now, you guys are going to be able to get a better look, obviously, with the zoom. But it looks a little bit... Let's just see. It does look a little bit like Hosana, but I can't really see. I didn't get a good view on the spot pattern there. But what's happening is, whoever it is, he's hunting. And Impala. So let's just have a quick look. I'm going to try to go to the other side of the Impala. He's still got quite a long way to go to get to them. And there is the little pan in between them. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go wait on the other side of the Impala. Hello, Impalas. I'm going to try park facing straight on for Craig because we've got a roof on today, so that can make life a little bit difficult for Craig using the camera while an animal's hunting and he has to move and swing around a bit. Now, as I say, we've lost sight of the leopard, but we're going to go across to Tristan quickly.
Well, Brent, hopefully Hosana will keep stalking while he's busy stalking. We've come across all the hyenas that Taylor had, so all 6 of them that were around, and they've just come to investigate what we're doing here. We kind of just on the edge, and they're now starting to walk away from us and move. But there's a whole bunch of them, and you can see that their sort of general reaction to us on foot is actually not that sort of unrelaxed. They're just watching, just seeing what we're doing, but most of the time they'll actually move away from you, so they're not aggressive to you. And even though this is 6 hyenas, and you'd think that they wouldn't be intimidated by 3 people, you can see their sort of choice is to rather move away than it is to come towards us. So that's their general kind of behavior. Very seldom do you have problems with hyenas unless there's a carcass or something close by. That's when they'll get a little bit kind of sort of a bit more pushy, or at night when they feel like there's the cover of darkness that they can try their luck and investigate and those kind of things. But they are very curious animals, so it's not uncommon for them to kind of walk closer towards you to kind of see what's going on and then them moving off. Now, sometimes if you actually lie down on the ground and you sit, you can have a situation where they'll come really close. They kind of walk right towards you and they'll actually come and try and sniff around, which is obviously what we don't want. So we're just staying standing so that they watch us and then they move away. Anyway, they're kind of all departing now. I can just see bums disappearing through the bush. So while we carry on, let's send you back across to the stalking Hosana.
Well, I think it looks like Hosana from this distance, and I think he wasn't being skittish. He just spotted some Impala. But the Impala have moved off a little bit, so he's stopped. And this is the exact same area where that skittish male was seen, no more than 50 or 60 meters from where we are now. And of course, Hosana has been living a life on the edge recently, trying to fiddle around with hokumuri, which is not a good idea. But after a very relatively quiet start to the morning, all of a sudden we have leopard, and now Taylor has lions.
Woohoo! Finally, well done to Tristan. So what Tristan did is he followed those hyena that we had earlier that were laying on the animal pathway. Probably drove about another 200 meters in, where the lions are now feasting upon a rather large kudu bull. You can see the horn there, just sticking up. Not that a big kudu bull is going to be much of a meal for the lions. I reckon they're almost finished it already. But very, very, very cool after working together. I love it when we do these sort of tracking exercises and we all come together. I was really hoping, though, that Tristan was going to get here in time to find these lions, because we knew they were in here. It was just a matter of actually going in on foot and having a little look around. But I bet you're all happy to know that the Nkuhumas will be here for another day. Because, I think they'll do the same thing like they did yesterday. Is rest up for the rest of the afternoon and perhaps only get moving later on this evening. So that's nice. Hey? What an Easter miracle again. We have leopard and now we've got the lions. which is pretty cool. Very, very nice, especially after yesterday's drive. As always, quite cool having the lions again, and then having a sneaky leopard slink around us. And also, I bet you're all happy to see Hosana. It's very nice to see that he is alive and doing well, and he was able to outsmart Hukumuri. Yeah, go lions. Well done, kitty cats. Now, we're in a very thick area, though. The grass is exceptionally tall. Every now and then you can hear a bit of growling. Oh, they stopped again. And I can't even tell you how much is actually left on that carcass. It is almost impossible to see. We might be able to reposition it at some point, or have a little look around once all the other guards have a nice view, and then we'll try and sneak into one of their spots. Right, it seems as though Hosana's got the Impala in his sight, and he's stalking again.
Well, the Impala moved off a little bit, and the males just started chasing each other around as we are getting to the beginning of the rut. It looks like Hosana is stopping for a quick drink. All right, let's go a little bit closer if he's having a drink. Hello, naughty one. Yes. Now, leopards are mostly nocturnal, crazy shady, but it is not uncommon for them to hunt during the day at all, especially on a cool, overcast morning like this. They are the complete opportunist, and if an opportunity arises, they will grab it with all four paws. I'm very happy to see Husana, but I was quite excited that we might have a chance at that new leopard. I've got a feeling that new leopard is not going to hang around either. He's of that age. He's a bit older than Husana, where I guess he was about 3, maybe a bit older, where he's searching for territory, so he might just slink through this area, head further on. He's still got a year or 2 to go before he's going to be big enough to challenge any territorial male for territory. There's lots of different theories, Tammy, on scent marking and whether it denotes how old or how powerful the leopard is. I would think to a degree, yes. I think there's hormones and stuff that can be picked up by the Jacobson's organ in leopards that is well beyond what we can comprehend at the moment. So I would say yes to a degree. I think there is some, definitely some information that's passed about how big, how strong, territorial or not, if a male leopard smells another male leopard scent mark. Well, we're going to stick with the little prince for now, see where he heads off to next. Let's hope he heads north, not south.
Yes. Let's try coax the young lad to stay on the property. Hello, little lions. Some of the sub-adults. I really would like to see how much is left. Oh no, don't go to sleep yet. At least go for a drink of water. Now, I don't know when these cats got on the move. It definitely looked like they were moving sort of in between the rain. It started raining at about 11:30 last night. Not a torrential downpour, but a bit harder than a drizzle, but it wasn't for very long. And their tracks definitely look like they had some of them look like they had raindrops on top of them. The ones on Shibamo actually look like they'd walked here after the rain. So quite cool. In fact, I don't know how long ago they would have killed this kudu, but it wouldn't have taken them very long to devour it. Remember, 11 lions, 5 of them which are fully grown, and 6 of them which are almost there. You know, not too far off of the adults. They're all going to consume a huge quantity of meat. And their bellies weren't too full, so there was lots of room. We also know how big those stomachs can expand, though. And that's, of course, what they're designed to do. They gorge themselves, blow up like an absolute balloon. It definitely looks like whatever they caught yesterday was smaller than a kudu, because they are much fatter this morning. Now, it's very difficult to count the members of the Pride because they're not all sprawled out on the road like they were yesterday. So, Giraffe Girl, no, I can't, unfortunately, tell you how many members are here. I'm pretty sure they're all here. What you can't see to the right and to the left, you can see there's a few shrubs, and I can just see movement around that side every now and then. I think there's quite a few lions laying to the right of the ones we were looking at. And then we won't be able to see the other one. There is one that was sitting up on a termite mound too. So I'm almost certain that they are all here. And I'm quite curious to see where they're going to go and drink, because definitely one lion went to have a drink at a little pan off of Shibamo. There's a tiny little pan, and that's how we sort of figured out, they're around here somewhere. Otherwise, Treehouse Dam is not too far either. But whether they'll go have a drink now or have a snooze first, I don't know. A little bit of blood around the face, some of them. You can see like sort of a slight tinge of red. Oh, look at all those flies. Can you imagine sitting there? That would be terrible. I feel like I collected horns once on a safari, those waterbuck horns, and Robin, now you've asked me if I'm going to keep the kudu horns as well. No, only if they're exceptional, and I'm not going to keep them personally. They're just going to go to the tent, because I think it's silly that we don't keep such a large set like that. They'll just get lost in the bush, and we can always throw them out. But I won't be taking them home or mounting them on my wall or anything like that. It was just purely a massive specimen. I don't know how big this kudu was. It's hard to see how many turns are in his horns. You can see a bit of that sort of ivory on the tip of the horn there, so it would have been a fully grown one. Yeah, so good meal for the lions. But again, not anything that they're going to be nibbling on this afternoon. I reckon once we do move around and reposition at some point, we're pretty limited to where we can go right now, so we just have to sort of stay put. And like I said, once the space opens up, we will definitely be moving on in to have a little look around and do a bit more investigating. Now there's the lioness, the oldest girl in the Pride, with her injury on her sort of hip, and is healing very nicely. A couple of flies hanging around though, but she is keeping that nice and clean, which is good news. And she's starting to look good. A little bit thin though. You can see she hasn't quite developed a lot of muscle around her shoulders, around her back. But as you can imagine, you know what it's like. If any of you have gone for an operation and laid in bed, or haven't been able to use your foot for a very long time, perhaps it was in a cast, the muscle deteriorates at a rapid rate. You lose muscle quicker than you can gain it, which is always so frustrating, isn't it? So it is going to take her a little while to regain her strength. But she's looking better and better every single day. Now, D-Hugs, I think the lion that you're wanting to try and have a look at is maybe that youngster that had the injury on its eye that we saw yesterday. We'll try our best, but I mean, as you can see, it's a flat carpet of cats, so if we aren't able to get them today, or this morning at least. We can always try again in the afternoon, because I'm pretty sure they will go and have a drink at some point. Let's just hope that it is going to be during safari time. But again, remember, these animals are so tough and so resilient, and I know it is very sad when one of them hurts themselves, but it's normal. It's like me. I'm completely accident prone. I've got hundreds of cuts and old scars on myself from falling and scraping my knees, but that's what the lions do. They fall down, they poke their eye out, or something happens. Get an injury on your hip, perhaps from a buffalo or from another lion, and, well, you just keep on keeping on. You just keep going. You don't let it bring you down, right? Hosana, however, has taken a break from all his excitement, and it seems as though he's counting some sheep.
Or maybe he's counting scrub hares, Easter bunnies in his head. We're definitely going to stick around with Husana. I mean, he is such an active leopard, especially on a cool morning like this. So he might take a break for now, but it's very, very likely he'll be up and about again in not too long. So we're going to sit right here. He's found himself a nice little sort of clear patch of dirt amongst the long grass. He's had a busy week, our little Husana. Well, those Impala ran off, but they ran off because they were chasing each other. Crazy Shady. They are going to start rutting and battling for females shortly. So Impala generally are one of the most aware animals out here, just because everything eats them. Lions will try, leopards, hyenas, cheetah, wild dog. So their senses are highly attuned to picking up potential danger. This case, however, they didn't see Husana. They just had an altercation amongst themselves. There were 5 Impala rams. Now, as the rut comes closer now, the rut is the mating season for the Impalas, you will start finding leopards that have lots of Impala males to eat, and lions, because they become so focused on mating that they will often get eaten, because they're busy chasing each other out and about and around, that they'll run straight into one of the big cats. So it's a nice time to be a young male leopard, when there's lots of food about that's not paying attention. He does look extremely comfortable. So, Cheryl, yes, it would be quite nice to just plop down wherever you might be and have a little snooze during your day. You can see he's not breathing heavily. It's not too hot today. But as I said, he's such a boisterous leopard that he's probably going to get up and moving again. So we're going to stick it here while Tristan is on the move.
We were on the move, and then we spotted a little spider web, and I'm trying to actually see if there is any spiders around here that we can kind of link to said web, but it seems as though there is nobody here that I can see at the moment. So whoever is the culprit for this has since departed and moved off and gone somewhere else, which is interesting. Generally, that's not the case with spiders. They normally kind of stay where they are, and particularly because there's a lot of residue of insects inside there. So I'm just trying to look, but nope, nothing that I can see. Now, I'm pretty sure Brent's right that Hosana is not going to sit still, not in weather like this anyway. It's not hot enough to keep him down. We know he's a moving cat, often likes to walk around and see what's out there and what's going on. So maybe he'll even go back towards the elephant carcass, even though there's nothing really there for him. It's still a situation where he kind of wants to investigate, and you know how he is. He's always just kind of curious about stuff. But I'm glad that he's okay, and I'm glad that he's kind of somehow managed to worm his way, which this is a typical Hosana maneuver. He's wormed his way between, Hukumuri and now this other intruder male, who was exactly where Hosana was this morning. So it's amazing how he kind of gets himself into it. Now, I believe that the lions are right in front of us, so we need to be a bit careful and a bit quiet as we walk past. Crazy shadies. Some of the animals don't leave this territory, so some do. And if you look at things like the Nkuhuma Pride or Styx Pride, they have a territory where they stay. But if you look at these sort of things like Hosana or Tumba, they're young male leopards that will move away. Now, I'm keeping my voice down because I'll show you now exactly why. The lions are right here. They're not very far away at all, and so we're trying to just kind of skirt past. And you can just see straight through there is a lion that is sitting and watching us as we're coming past, and so they're kind of just in there, and Taylor's sitting with them at the moment, and they kind of just enjoying a bit of full belly time. And so we thought we'd bypass them by going around this way, but they're a little bit further south than we initially thought. So that's, I think, the young male that's busy watching us over there, and from this distance we don't have to worry too much. It's a situation where they kind of are far enough away that we can be sort of moving around without too much of a stress. But it's amazing, they kind of pick us up. They must have heard us from a while ago, and then they just kind of looked in this direction. But you can see that they're pretty chilled about it. It's not as though that male's getting up and skulking off and kind of moving away from us. He's just sitting there watching us, and we're just watching him. And it's kind of, at this distance with lions, it's actually not too bad. You don't have to worry as much. It's if you bump into them at close proximity that they become incredibly dangerous. But isn't that cool? Always nice when you get to see lions on foot. It's a bit of a thrill and a bit of a rush that you get when they're around. Hopefully we're going to keep moving on and carry on, but now I believe Taylor says that she thinks one lioness has moved off and gone to have a drink at Treehouse, and we were going to go past Treehouse to get back towards camp, so we'll just have to be careful of that and pay attention a little bit. So we're going to keep kind of moving on. I don't want to disturb the sighting. There are vehicles there, so we don't want to make an issue where the lions will scatter or anything like that. So we're going to try and just kind of go around and get out of the way of all the cars. And so while we do that, let's send you back across to Taylor, who I think is following that lioness by the sound of things.
We aren't. We're actually still with the main pride. But remember I told you that there was one lion that was sitting on the termite mound? And the lion's just getting a little bit nervous. Taxon's just trying to get out of the sighting, I think. So we'll just let him completely reposition. And so there was one lion that was on the termite mound and actually went down, and David and I were wanting to follow her. However, we couldn't see where she went, and it was a nightmare to try and get in here, so we thought, okay, let's just stay put for now. I think do you want me to go forward? Okay, Fanoti's helping Tax get out. Just trying to get the most easiest route. Obviously for us it's very easy to navigate our way through sightings because it's just David and I that are ducking branches. But when you've got 10 people on your car, it's exceptionally difficult to try and navigate around. I think they might try and find another route. Tax, join me to go there and then you come out this way. Okay, we'll do that. So what we'll do is we'll take Taxon's place because this is quite a nice route to sort of... Look at this log derby. Wouldn't want to be smacked by that. So we'll go in here and then Tax will be able to turn his long car and come out where we were. What am I even driving over? Oh, hello. Okay, try to sneak on in here. Hello, lions. Oh, yeah. Goodness. Are you guys hungry? Is that fine, Darby? There we go. Now, very typical behavior, as most of you would have seen if you've got any pets. As soon as they've had a big meal, they normally go and have a little bit of a siesta afterwards. So yes, Yvette, especially for lions that completely gorge themselves, remember they don't rely on us feeding them. They're not getting a meal or 2 meals every single day. Sometimes they'll go for a couple of days without eating. And if you do gorge yourself completely, it's exhausting. Hey, Darby, how do you feel after you've been through a buffet? Hey, you get your money's worth. You have dessert 3 times. Ah, there's Tristan. I see him. I don't think we'll see him. That's where he is. I'm going to point at him. And you see them going. I think, if you go a little bit to the left, I think you might have the bar, though. Yeah, no, you won't see them. No. Anyways, I see where Tristan is. So Tristan's just over there. Okay, so there's a lioness that's gone sort of towards the southern road. Very interesting. Yeah, so there we go, typical behavior. But remember, again, because they're not relying on us feeding them, these are wild lions, they have to hunt for themselves. And, sure, you need to save energy as well. So after a big meal and they're exhausted, they've been chasing this kudu around. We don't know how long the chase was before they were able to catch it. They need to rest. They now need to top up those energy levels. And the only way to do that is, of course, to sleep. Oh. Chris, I agree with you. Cats do live the life we wish we could live, especially as, I suppose, a domestic cat, eh? The queen or king of the household. I shared something on Facebook the other day. I still want to be a caterpillar. Hey, David, did you see that one? Where you're a caterpillar and you eat and eat and eat all day long. You go to sleep and you wake up beautiful. That's my favorite. I would like to be a caterpillar rather than a lion. Just because of that. I mean, caterpillars double in size, probably every couple of days, shed a skin, and then off they go. Amazing how they start off so tiny that you need to look at them under a microscope, and before you know it, they're the size of your index finger and getting ready to pupate. Lions, however, don't do that. They're just going to stay this way. So far I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lions here. And I'm pretty sure the others are nearby. I'm sure they're just here. So they're onto the scraps now. Onto the scraps. Gnawing away. Trying to get the flesh between the bones or the ribs. And then I'm sure trying to crunch down into some of the smaller bones to get all the bone marrow. Yeah, there's nothing left. Now, a really cool sighting that I had, I think I'd only just started working here. It actually happened around Chelepan. David, I think you may have been on camera with me too. No, it wasn't. It was Eggsy. It was Zander that was on camera with me. I'll never forget that because he was so terrified that a lunar moth had landed in the car and he kept pointing at it and he said I had to take it out from under his feet. It was so funny. He was absolutely terrified. And then I couldn't reach it because we had the Nkuhumas around Chelepan and it was sort of at the back here, so I gave him a stick. He then used the stick and I think he threw it at me with the moth. It was very funny. You may remember that sighting. Anyways, and that sighting just got better and better. Eventually, one of the Nkuhuma lionesses, if I'm not mistaken, it may have been the youngest girl too, she came on out and stalked a giraffe. So, Michael, yeah, I think as soon as these sub-adults are fully grown, they're going to have to start hunting bigger prey. I don't think it's even just going to be one buffalo. They're going to have to start taking down 2 buffalo. Otherwise, they're going to need to kill something every second day. So the next option, of course, well, is to hunt the tallest creature of them all. And that will keep them going for a few days. So here we go. Are our Nkuhumas going to turn into giraffe specialists? Well, I suppose we need giraffe on the property, hey? In order for them to catch them. They seem to be few and far between at the moment. But again, hunting giraffe is not for the weak. It's a very, very dangerous game. But we will talk more about the giraffe and lions potentially hunting them in this area. I'm going to send you on back across to Brent to see if Hosana looks like he's going to wake up.
Well, he has actually managed to make himself more comfortable, if that was ever possible. Now, very interesting what Taylor's chatting about, giraffe specialist Nkuhumas. I think the last time the Nkuhumas killed a giraffe was close on 3 years ago. And they ended up sharing the carcass with, I think it was the Nkuhuma Pride. So that was a very interesting scenario that played out to the north of our border. And which means that either the Nkuhumas are down. Sorry, I'm being signaled from someone. So either the Nkuhumas are an offshoot of the Talamatis, or the Talamatis are an offshoot of the Nkuhumas. So that's the interesting thing about that. we don't really know where they came from, because the Nkuhumas were discovered on Buffalo's Hook at a place called Brown Ivory Clearing, and the Shangaan word for the brown ivory tree is Nkuhuma. That's where they got their name from. So there's all these very interesting dynamics that go on that you can never be 100% sure what happened. Now, giraffe go. Yes, one kick from a giraffe and it can all be over, but I've seen prides of lions that specialize in animal and big animals like giraffe. There was a pride I used to see regularly in northern Botswana that at one stage were going through a giraffe every sort of 10 days till the buffalo came back, and then they went back to specializing on buffalo. Now, each individual leopard has unique spots, Bill G, and the section we actually use to identify them, we can't actually see on little Hosana at the moment because his head is not facing us, but I should have a picture that we can use. I can show you. Let me just find, there we go. Here's a picture. And it is of one of my favorites, Mr. Quarantine. So, the last line of spots above the last line of whiskers. So that top section of spots there is like a fingerprint on a leopard. So it is very unlikely to change. So that is the spot pattern we refer to when we try to identify different individual leopards. So that is the spots that we use. Now, apparently, the new leopard, according to Julie, has a 3-1 spot pattern. I haven't looked at those pictures too carefully, and they're a little bit too far to see the top spot pattern properly, but you could be spot on there, Julie. And we'll have to chat to the other guides who saw him. This is a very flat cat. Now see, even though he's sleeping, you can see how his ear is rotating. He's still listening to what's going on around him. We're going to, as I say, stick it out with Husana, because he does often become very mobile during the day, and especially a cool day like this. So we'll send you back to Taylor and the Nkuhumas in the meantime.
Now, we were talking, I don't know why I always start my sentences with now. I need to stop that. That's a terrible habit. David, I give you permission to pull my ponytail every time I start a sentence like that, or whack me with a buffalo thorn. That lion that we were zoomed in so close to is the young lion with the injury on its eye. But, of course, it's gone and plopped itself down that we now can't even see its head anymore. It's so close to the car. But it doesn't look like much has changed since yesterday. It still looks like it's weeping a little bit. And it's difficult to try and get a view, especially if it keeps its eye closed, to see if, there is any discoloration in the eye itself. Anyways, but we'll just keep, of course, monitoring that and watching it. Like I said, we're not going to be able to intervene, so we'll just have to let nature take its course here. Hey, lions, that is finished. I cannot believe how quickly they ate that. That's amazing. A big kudu. They've literally eaten every single part of it, barring 1 or 2 of the legs that are still left. Not much meat on the legs, however. They've even eaten all the hide. They've just devoured the whole thing. Oh my goodness. That's crazy. See, they're trying to get some of the smaller bones to crush them open. But unfortunately, not as powerful of bite force There's the hyenas. The hyenas will come in here. Oh, what happened? What gave you a fright? Gave him a fright. I don't know if one of the other lions maybe sneezed. And those hyenas that are hanging around, obviously hanging around for a reason. Yes, they've got the lovely elephant carcass to feed on. However, there's some fresh meat, some fresh bones. I'm going to love that. They've got a treat, so they'll come on in and swoop up and eat every last morsel. I'm just leaving the horns really in the head. The rest of it will probably disappear completely. Well, last night we went on a little bit of a bumble. Unfortunately, not everybody in camp always gets to go out on a safari. Obviously, the cameraman and the presenters are very lucky. Our office is out here in the bush. But it is nice to, of course, take the rest of the team that are also working really hard behind the scenes out. So we went on a bumble. We just had the Nkuhumas fast asleep. They moved maybe a whole of 100 meters from where we'd left them in the sunset safari. And flat. And then we went past Elephant Carcass, not much happening there. And then we also went to Treehouse Dam, where we had our best sighting. And that was of a couple of hyenas hanging around the dam. And one had a huge piece of that elephant carcass and was dragging it around. It must have been the hide, but it must have been a piece about, I don't know, maybe just shy of a meter. And we don't really know what was going on in that sighting. We were trying to figure it out. I think it was a low-ranking hyena that had obviously stolen that chunk of flesh, not even flesh, hide from the carcass, and then was running with it, and it was chased, or it was eating it at the dam, and then some other hyenas came around, because every time the hyenas on the outskirts would go anywhere near it, that hyena would literally swim into the dam, and I couldn't believe how deep Treehouse Dam actually was, because it couldn't touch the floor anymore. It's just pedaling, like it was trying to get away, growling and making all sorts of strange noises, which was quite cool to see. It was like the equivalent of dipping bread into a soup, except the bread, in this case, was a piece of elephant hide, and the soup was, I suppose, a green algae pea-coloured soup. Delicious. I'm sure that would have softened the hide too. Now, every now and then you can hear a little bit of crunching away. So, yes, Hunter, they will eat some of the bones. Not all of them, though, the smaller ones. And they're not necessarily going for the calcium. They're actually going for the bone marrow, so in what's inside the bones. Let's see what it looks like Amber eyes. The lioness is standing up now. Let's see what she's going to do. She's going to stick her head right in to try and find a scrap. She doesn't look like she's got a massive belly, hey? I mean, it's fat. I've seen lions with bellies double that size. Oh, here we go. And she's going to pull it. Where are you going to pull it, girl? And she's going to take... Look at the strength in this cat. I think she's just trying to reposition it. I don't think she's necessarily going to drag it anywhere. She would drag it if there was a lot more flesh, to obviously try and keep it out of sight from vultures. And, well, I suppose everybody knows she's here now. The hyenas know she's here. And I think she's just trying to reposition it. Let's see. And there's a little bit of the hide left. This might cause a bit of a stir, especially amongst the youngsters. Is she going to go for another pull? No. Okay, well, she's settled down now. I think, just like I said, repositioning the carcass. I'm going to send you to Tristan, who has, in fact, arrived at Treehouse Dam.
We have arrived at Treehouse. We're just admiring the view at the moment. We thought maybe, just maybe, there might be a lioness coming this way. Taylor said one got up and moved in this direction, but it doesn't see any sign of her at this stage. So it's all quiet at Treehouse. There was a hyena that got a absolutely major big fright. It must have not seen us, because it came trotting down the road, and then it kind of came up onto the dam wall and saw us, and then let out this little yelp, and then went flying into the bush at a rate of knots. And so I think it got a bit of a fright. It probably had its nose down sniffing, and then it kind of looked up, and there was two people standing in front of it, and then it just, like I say, got this massive fright, and it was like a little rocket launcher going away. Now, I know some of you often wonder why Treehouse Dam is called Treehouse, so I will show you why now. Seb, well, you're going to be able to come down here without any issues. Should be good, eh? Okay, cool. So we're going to go down the dam wall, and then I'll show you why it's called Treehouse Dam. It's a dam that was actually made because there's a natural spring that is here. So Treehouse is not actually only fed by rainwater. There is a natural spring that seeps up from the ground here. And so back in many years ago, before this was declared as a wilderness area and there was conservation efforts to keep it nice and kind of safe, and hunting and those kind of things became part of the whole process. So you had to have a situation where people had to hunt in order to feed staff and those kind of things. And so because there was a spring that popped up here, and it was before these dams were all built, a lot of animals used to congregate in this area. And so it was the perfect place to basically put up this treehouse platform to be able to watch the animals coming in and see what's going on. And so this marula tree that's up ahead of us, we'll show you now. There is a bit of the treehouse actually still left in it, and that's how it got its name, Treehouse Dam. It was because of this marula tree. And you can see pieces of wood that are actually still nailed to the tree itself. I'm going to try and get a little closer and show you. Obviously don't want to go too close because the lines are not very far off, but from here you can see straight in the middle of the tree basically is a piece of wood that's hanging down at kind of a right angle. Can you see it there, Seb? On the right hand side. So that's well, there's bits everywhere. So that's a situation where it's basically was a tree house that was actually built in the tree itself, and it was done, I think, in the late 60s, early 70s is when they actually built this tree house, and it was then disassembled. Well, when it became a wilderness area, they then took it and they broke it apart, and they made a situation where they built this sort of dam and became an area where people came for photographic visits, and that's why they started to get into a situation where they took the tree house apart and made it into, you know, a situation where we don't have a tree house at all. So it's an interesting kind of thing, and it's amazing how things have changed and how we're in a situation where we're kind of in a very different place, in a different way that we're doing things. You know, it's interesting how kind of times have changed, and it's gone from, you know, where things were very hunting heavy in terms of there was so much, and there wasn't ease to get food and those kind of things in these kind of areas, that people often would then get into a situation where they would kind of have to hunt and have to try and provide for not only their families but for their staff and all those kind of things that worked in these areas. Whereas to now we get kind of trucks delivering food to us on a day-to-day basis. It's pretty amazing to me that we have it like that, and so that means that we can take down these kind of things and where it gets its kind of name from. But it is a very popular place, particularly in winter. So this dam won't dry in winter. It'll have a situation where there'll still be a bubble and a seep coming out. Even if the main part of the dam dries, there'll still be a seepage that will come out, and you'll have a situation where you'll get this massive amount of water kind of congregating, and so animals love it here, and particularly in winter you'll see a lot of leopard, a lot of lions, wild dogs, elephants, all kind of congregating in this area, which is very cool. Good. Now there's somebody that's just driven past us that's going towards the lions, so I don't know if the lions are on their way to us, which means we need to get out of here. Careful behind you there, Seb. And while we do that, let's send you back across to Taylor, I think, that's still with the kudu carcass.
We are. Two of the youngsters have just dived on and in. Now, as far as I'm aware, I'm going to stop talking because we're going to do a little special here. Good morning and happy Easter to all of you out here. It seems as though we're very lucky this morning in South Africa as some Easter lions have decided to show themselves. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me is David. And like I said, we're sitting in South Africa in the Sabi Sand Game Reserve on this live safari with a pride of lions known as the Nkuhuma Pride. Now, if you would like to chat to us or ask any questions, all you have to do is comment away and I will receive those. And we're so lucky out here to be able to be so close to so many cats and, well, other wonderful animals that occur in the Sabi Sand Wildtuin, like that little lion who decided to move away from the lions who are finishing off a kudu kill and just sort of come and rest right near the car. Now, these are completely wild lions. Edu, great to have you on board my safari. You're very impressed by this. You're exclaiming, wow. It's great to hear that. I'm glad that you're enjoying this. And again, happy Easter. So this is just one of the many things that you can see in South Africa when you do come out on a safari, is that you get up close and personal with wild animals. And they're not tame in any way. They're just habituated to the vehicle, so they're used to us driving around, and they're quite happy, of course, to continue eating breakfast with us here. Now, those growls are not at us. That's because there's some of the younger sub-adult lions that attach themselves to, you can see the one on the right is holding onto that carcass for dear life. And there's a fully grown lioness on the left who's not having any of it. And she's trying to turn it around so that she can get the last of the scrap. She actually didn't look like she had much of that kudu at all. The youngsters, however, their bellies are absolutely swollen this morning. This is so amazing. We are so, so, so lucky. Mark, you're quite happy to, of course, see so many lions out here. There's actually 11 lions in this pride, 5 of them adult lionesses, and the rest of them the 6 others are sub-adults. They're almost 2 years old now. Pretty amazing. But you can see that kudu didn't go very far, I'm afraid. This is amazing. We've had them on the property for quite some time because these lions can move around. We're open to the Kruger National Park, the most famous game reserve in South Africa, and so these cats can move around. And the Sabi Sand is easily the best place to come and see leopards, to come and see lions, big herds of elephants, buffaloes, you name it. All the animals occur in this area. Richard, I agree with you. It is good to see lions in their natural habitat, and that's what you will get to see when you come on safari in this area. And I'm very lucky to do this every single day as my job. Now, if you would like to carry on watching Safari Live, because we'll probably stick with these lions for a bit longer, all you have to do is Google us. But for myself and David, we're going to stay put. We hope to all see you soon, and enjoy your Easter Sunday further. Hello, regular viewers. My favorite. How are you? You enjoying this still? Isn't this lovely? I'm glad that it's not a rotting carcass today. Nice and fresh. Hey, David? Yeah, we seem to be sitting in the right direction as well. We can't smell anything. In fact, I can't even smell the stinky lions. Normally they don't smell very nice. After the rain, Amber Eyes is getting a bit annoyed with those youngsters now. All slinking around trying to find a spot. Oh, they're all so cheeky, hey? And just sit on top of the carcass then to get a spot. I think that little one's actually got an upper hand there. I'm pretty sure there's some flesh deeper on in and just underneath the spine and in between the ribs. It's a difficult area to sort of get into, and this. There is actually a lot of flesh still left on that carcass. Lions have just got really big mouths, big jaws, and are unable to get all those little pieces in between. But a jackal, all the vultures, they'll fill their bellies and their crops fairly easy. Right, we'll sit here for a little bit longer, and then I think we'll head on off. So off you go back to Brent.
We're still with the very, very comfortable little prince. So he is still fast asleep for the moment. And he doesn't look like he's got any plans of becoming too mobile just yet.